Here again with another Shameless Season 5 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you weren't caught up to the point where I am and rewatching or watching Shameless, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description if that happens to be the case and you're not caught up. It would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for those of you that are wondering, I've seen this show one time before, just revisiting the show because I know a lot of it is good, and then some of it gets really terrible. But I'm on the good stuff right now. This will be Shameless Season 5, Episode number 6. The title of this episode is called Crazy Love. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. Motherfucker! Fiona punches Jimmy Steve, and he says, Jesus! Where the fuck have you been? Fiona yells. You don't return my calls or my texts? And Jimmy Steve says he was handcuffed on a boat. And he's kind of annoyed that Fiona got married. And then it's like, what am I supposed to do? You were going to go to college and become a doctor. Yeah, that was crazy as Sean is watching all this. And then Mickey calls Fiona. Ian did what? So Ian is on his way to Florida with Mickey and Svetlana's baby, having a conversation with himself as the baby listens, or he's having a conversation with the baby, but the baby really can't respond. And Svetlana she basically threatens Mickey to call the cops on Ian. Lip is back in school, sort of, as the resident assistant. A mom wants him to make sure her daughter gets her medication. And Lip's like, she's going to have to take care of it herself. I'm not a freaking camp counselor. And then Frank bugs the mail carrier, Gail. She tells him to get a life or get a job. And then Frank goes back to the Gallagher house. Sammy lays down the law. No money? No food? You want something to eat? You pay. Sammy says the doors will be locked at 10 p.m. Debbie says tomorrow is her first day of high school. Fiona goes to the Malkovich house. Svetlana calls Ian. He's crazy. He steals baby. He needs to be put into crazy people place where they spray him with crazy people fire hose and put electric in his head. Mickey tells Fiona that he mentioned taking Ian to the hospital or to get some help, and he freaked out. Jimmy Steve has arrived at the Gallagher house. Lip wonders what he's doing there. Sammy, Debbie, and Carl find out Fiona is now married to Gus. Jimmy Steve says musicians are usually unreliable. Fiona tells Jimmy Steve that Liam got sick because of the cocaine that an ex she had that she wasn't really into and she went to jail. Jimmy Steve tells Fiona that he loves her over and over. Fiona doesn't know what to do, and then Fiona kisses Jimmy Steve as everybody watches. Sammy says hot. Very hot. And then Fiona gets a text from Gus, the next morning, and we see that Jimmy has spent the night there. Sammy asks Fiona if Jimmy's going to move in with her and Gus, and then Gus shows up in the morning. She tells Gus that she'll call him later to let him know what's going on with Ian, but I don't think he really cares about Ian. He's never even met him yet. Gus is a nice guy, but, does he really care what's going on with Ian? He just cares about you. He cares about that, yeah. Anyway, Ian wakes up to the baby crying. The baby needs to be changed. Mickey calls Ian for like the 200th time, leaves a message that he's worried about him. He loves him. Mickey tells Svetlana, no cops. Fiona tells Jimmy she wants him out now. V tells Fiona that her and Kev are separated because Fiona went over there to their house to talk about Jimmy Steve situation, but she didn't mention it because V said that all Kev cares about is the babies. Fiona decides, of course, with that, not to tell V her drama as they're right now separated in their mind, like Kev's sleeping downstairs. Derek mentions to Debbie at the first day of high school that he didn't realize she was going to use what she was taught already when she used it on Holly and Holly's friend. Another chick is interested in Amanda, and Amanda knows. Not sure where that'll go. Ian goes into the gas station with the baby. Someone had to help him or help them out with the transaction, as Ian didn't have enough for gas, diapers, and some snacks and Red Bull and applesauce for the baby. And Sean asks Fiona about the guy that she punched yesterday 6 times. He even mentioned to her, did you sleep with him or something like that? And you got to give him something after punching him that many times. And then Angela is there to see Fiona again. She wants to know if Jimmy should stay. She's not into Jimmy. She just wants to know for her reasoning. And then Fiona says she doesn't know. She's still into Fiona, but Fiona obviously isn't into her, other than the tips that she leaves. And then Kev rambles to Julie about the kids and V's lack of interest in them at the park. Svetlana's friend is in the waiting room offering favors to the father-to-be of Svetlana's baby that she's basically doing for them. They're paying her to, have the baby for them. And she's like, whatever for this and for my mouth, and then whatever for this. I can't remember the exact amounts, and I didn't write it down. Frank's in bad shape as he wakes up on the couch, and Sammy doesn't want to help him and doesn't want Chucky or Liam to help him either. Ian leaves the baby in the car while he gets into a car with someone else and drives away. A concerned onlooker sees this and goes out to investigate, and then this person ends up calling the police. Frank crawls to grab the corded phone that's on the wall, and he's able to get it. And then Ian comes back pretty much right away as the cops are trying to get into the car. Ian flips out on the cops and runs away. He has the baby in his hands, and the cops, of course, chase him. Carl goes to the Malkovich place to see if Mickey's heard anything from Ian, and Mickey gets a call while he's there from the police that they have Ian in custody. Angela asks Jimmy how long they're going to wait as they're kind of waiting outside Fiona's place, and then Fiona finally comes home and Jimmy goes to talk to her at the Gallagher house, and Jimmy apologizes to Fiona for everything that's ever happened to her. Like, he blames himself, and Jimmy tells Fiona he loves her again, and then Jimmy starts to bang Fiona in the kitchen. But Fiona tells him to stop as Fiona's actually crying, and she tells him to go home. It's like Jimmy raped Fiona there, but he didn't. He did not. She was into it at first, but then didn't want it. And Jimmy does leave, and he, doesn't fight her reaction to that. And we see that Frank is now in the hospital, so he must have called 911. And then a doctor tells Frank to get his shit together. Carl tells Lip that he has a pound of weed on him, so he doesn't want the cops to kind of question him. And then an officer tells Lip and company that he needs to get Ian some help. And another officer gives Mickey his kid back. And then Fiona goes over to Gus's place, changes into another shirt, and we get to see Fiona boobies before she does that, or while she does that, and gets in bed with Gus, and then starts to have fun with Gus. And he can't resist, and they fuck. And Fiona, after he finishes, she's got tears in her eyes again. So I think Fiona just is like, what have I done again? I've done the same mistake again. And then Lip tells Mickey he did okay, a lot more than most people would do. Lip and Mickey take Ian to get help. Fiona is called and notified of this, so she arrives to give Ian a hug. And then Ian is left at the facility to end the episode. So pretty good episode of Shameless. Of course, the events of the last episode where Fiona is reunited with Jimmy Steve, so that was a memorable moment. And then you kind of have what happens afterwards in this one. I'm going to give this one a 9.0 out of 10. This was pretty solid stuff. The characters of the episode: Fiona for the females, and for the males, I'm going to give it to Jimmy, or Steve, or Jimmy Steve, or Jack. Jimmy Steve, Jack, whatever you want to call him. It was a standout. Even though he didn't have a lot of scenes, it was a big thing with Fiona in this episode. So you've heard what I have to say on this Shameless Revisited review. I want to hear what you have to say about this episode. If you're a fan of Shameless and want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, make sure that you Hulk smash that like button, share the video with anybody you know, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode. What would you score this episode of Shameless, and whom, if you had to choose, would be your male and female, or if you just want to do one character of the episode, you can do that in the comment section. And then last, but certainly not least, first of all, I'll put my review, or my rant, Shameless series finale rant, because I did watch this show when it aired, at least the last season. I'll put my rant of the finale right here with about 20 seconds left, which you should see right now. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.